Hi everyone, I'm Gabrielle Echols and I play Bridget in Evil Dead Rise, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I am so excited to be talking to today's guests. We are going to be talking all things Evil Dead Rise with Gabby Echols, who plays Bridget in the film. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Gabby.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So before we're gonna definitely get into. And by the way, guys, this is gonna be filled with spoilers. So just a heads up, if you haven't seen the movie, make sure you go check that out. But this is gonna have spoilers. But before we get into the Evil Dead stuff, I just wanted to ask you to kind of start things off. When was it that you first kind of fell in love with movies in the first place?
Well, I think like most little kids, when they're watching a movie or a TV show that they really like, you kind of let your imagination take wild and you're like, oh, what is it like to be like one of those characters? What is it like to live in that world? And that was something that I was always really interested in doing, but it always felt so unattainable. I didn't even know how to get into the acting industry. And then my mom, she found this program where basically it puts you in front of managers and agents, and I was very fortunate enough to meet and be introduced to some members of my team now that I absolutely love and adore with all my heart.
Oh, excellent. And as far as like, just getting like started, so it sounds like that's where you got like your start. And then do you remember like the first project that you're officially a part of?
I do. This was actually when I realized that acting is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. That's what I was truly passionate about. Little background: I was a pre-professional ballet dancer for quite some time, and that was where my mind was headed. But then, as soon as I started acting, it quickly shifted over into that, and I got my first job when I was 13, 14. I could be wrong. It was a few years ago, but it was for Reminiscence, directed by Lisa Joy, and film with Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, and Dandy Newton. And
Wow.
it took me so long to process what it was actually about to happen because I went into it so blind. And it was filmed in New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities. And I just remember walking up to him and just, he's so tall and I'm 5 foot nothing. I'm like, hi. And it was an amazing experience, and that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow, what a way to start things off too with your career.
Right.
And now doing a film like, Evil Dead as well. I'm curious, what's your relationship with the world of horror just in general?
Well, I've always been a major fan of the horror genre, and I'd be lying if I said that I was, intimately familiar with all of the Evil Dead films prior to, starting to film Evil Dead Rise. But I was obviously well aware of them. I mean, just all of the iconic scenes that I heard the films had were just, I mean, if you like horror, you kind of can't miss it.
Yeah, exactly. So did you end up getting the job, and then did you end up watching the Evil Dead films like afterwards, or how did that like kind of work?
So I had actually I realized that I watched Evil Dead 2 like a few years back. And I remembered I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. And then when I got the audition, I went ahead and I watched the first one and then the 2013 one, and I was it's not like anything else you've ever really seen before. Like there's just certain iconic moments that you've never really seen anywhere else, and it is truly its own thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was when I was talking to Anna Marie Thomas, I was telling her that when I saw Evil Dead 2013 in theaters, it's an experience that I'm always going to remember because it's one of the few times that when I was at the premiere, there was a girl that there was only about 10 minutes like left in the film. So it was a scene where the blood started raining down and everything. She got up out of her seat and ran out of the theater saying that she couldn't take it anymore. So it's one of the few times
Oh,
that
I love
someone
that.
actually got up and just left. So definitely makes a memory. And it's like, man, if you could have just stuck it out 10 more minutes or whatever, you would have seen basically like the whole movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean the Evil Dead films are just kind of like their whole like a whole different monster when it comes to the horror genre. So talk to me about actually getting cast in an Evil Dead film because like we were just saying, I feel like Evil Dead isn't just your typical normal horror film. So what was that process like?
Well, in terms of like the auditioning process and everything, that was pretty much it's pretty much usually how it goes. You know, I got the audition for Bridget, and the audition itself, the scenes that I had to do, the first one was, it was actually really fun, but it was up to me to try to figure out how to, you know, find that line between it, being chaotic but organized and bringing that energy up and making it what it's supposed to be, you know, within the frames of just one little camera, but also not making it so chaotic that it's confusing and sloppy and everything. And that scene was in the beginning of the movie where, you know, Bridget she goes and talks to Ellie, she answers the door, she wrestles with, you know, Cassie over Stephanie, and then she runs into Danny's bedroom. So it was definitely really really fun, and I got to try and figure out how to create an environment that would kind of immerse myself in the apartment, and, you know, trying to build these connections with characters and people that aren't really there.
So what was your reaction when you found out that you were going to be playing a Deadite in the film?
That I was really excited about. I got to read the script before talking with Lee Cronin over Zoom, and as I'm reading all of this, seeing what I'm going to be going through, I was really excited because I mentioned, you know, being a ballet dancer, and that obviously requires a lot of physicality. And so with this, I knew that with the movements and kind of inhabiting that you know, Deadite mentality, and how they go about things and the strange ways that they look and walk and move around and everything, that was going to help me out in that aspect. And then I was also going to get the opportunity to play not only someone who's fighting for their life and is super scared, but at some point the tables turn and now I am the thing that people are fighting for their life for.
So it sounds like, so did you not know initially when you did the audition, you were just doing it as Bridget, right? You didn't know initially that you're going to be playing a Deadite until like afterwards?
Yeah, so I did the first audition, and then I heard back, and then I like I said, I got to read the script and then speak to Lee, and then there was another audition that I had to do, and that was the Deadite
Oh,
tape,
okay.
where that one was where I'm, you know, sitting on top of the countertop eating glass, and I didn't have glass, I didn't have fake glass to bite, so I was like, all right, how do I mimic this? And so I got up, I set up my camera, I was like crouched over on my desk, and I had a bowl of ice. And I swear by the end of it, by the last few takes, my lips were completely blue.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I imagine just going through all that ice. Now, so what was, as far as just like getting to play a Deadite, what was that experience like overall? And can you just talk about the transformation process?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I mentioned before about the physicality aspect of it. With just figuring out how to remain in that very, you know, nonchalant, focused state when it comes to the acting and the performance, but also not reacting to things that a human would because you're a deadite. So it was first like truly, truly understanding that and then applying it, and then there was the prosthetic aspect of it with the cuts on my face, and all of the makeup here with the veins and the blood and everything. And then, you know, when Bridget set on fire, you know, that burn makeup was definitely intense. It covered all of my lips, you know. The only thing that it didn't cover was my nostrils, really, and my eyeballs, because my eyelids were even covered. And that was probably the most difficult part of the Deadeye transformation.
I was gonna say you were put through the ringer, but watching this movie, I was like, man, it must have been, even though it must have been challenging in one aspect, it must have been so much fun just because of all the different things that you got to do in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I probably experienced way more things from just this one project than I have in my entire life.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I learned from it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And speaking of Deadites, so what was it like working with Alyssa Sutherland, who played, you know, the main Deadite in the film? Because just seeing like all the videos and stuff that she's posted, it looks like just working on the set was a blast, like overall.
Absolutely. But no, working with Alyssa was so exciting. And I actually I have a little bit of a funny story of first meeting her. I didn't know who anyone was. I didn't know who was going to be playing any of the other characters. And so, while I was flying over to New Zealand, I was just pretty much going in blind. And my connecting flight from Atlanta to LA to New Zealand, Alyssa, she lives in LA. And apparently we had gotten a text saying that, oh, she was going to be there, if we want to meet each other, chat a little bit. I had my phone on airplane mode, so I didn't get that text. And then as I'm loading my carry-on in the overhead bins, I get a tap on my shoulder. And obviously, Alyssa, she's absolutely gorgeous. And she's very, very, very tall. And I'm, once again, 5 foot nothing. And like looking up, I'm like, hi. And she goes, and the first thing she says is, hi, I'm your mom. And I'm like, oh. And it took me way too long to figure out what she had meant. And then it finally clicked. I'm like, oh, you're, she's like, I'm Elaine. I'm like, oh my God. And so that was our first little introduction, and then just working with her throughout the process of filming. It's not long into the film where it doesn't take much time to get to the point where Ellie's starting to become a Deadite. And so Alyssa did an absolute phenomenal job on it, and I was just in awe. Honestly, when I saw her, I was just like looking at her, picking up things and trying to figure out like, oh damn, was really good. And I didn't really want to interrupt her. I didn't want to interrupt the process that she was going through, or break away from that, because I was like, just sit back and watch her.
Yeah, and you guys had that one great scene too, where before you end up becoming Deadite Bridget, that you have the tattoo gun scene.
Yeah. Oh, that was really fun.
Which I imagine was like, I guess just talk a little bit about like filming that too. What was it like with, did she like, so she like, full on like jumped on top of you. What was it like filming that?
Well, I mean, honestly, that was really fun. I had, background stuff. I had, like the cushions behind me and everything. There was a bunch of people around us making sure that everything was still going to be safe, but it looked really realistic. And it was, it was fun. I just got to get knocked back 24/7 for
Yeah.
like an hour.
Yeah, so like I said, you were definitely put through the ringer in this movie for sure. And so speaking of some of the other scenes that I wanted to talk to you about specifically, so once we get to the point where you're, officially full on Deadite here, we have the eating the glass scene.
Yep.
So yeah, just talk about like filming that. What did they use for the glass? Was it like that like candy glass, or like what did they use for that?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I know it was made out of sugar, and it was made clear enough to look like the rest of the glass. And there was like a little portion of it that was already kind of like bit out. That's where I would bite into.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was way more difficult than what I thought it was going to be, just because, like I said, I had the prosthetic on my lip, so it wasn't my actual lip. And after hours of having it on, the sweat and grime gets in there, and then it starts to loosen up. And every time I would take a bite, the second the sugary glass hits, anything like water based, I guess, it immediately starts to melt and it starts to stick and everything. So there were times where I'd take a bite, I'd come up and I'd go to say something, and my lips would just be stuck together and I couldn't say anything. I don't know how many takes there are of me just being like,
I imagine. No, I could totally see that. I'm sure, I mean, this whole film just in general was pretty messy overall, just with the blood,
oh,
guts,
absolutely,
and all that
absolutely,
kind of stuff.
absolutely. I mean, the kitchen scene altogether, just the like the physicality of cascading headfirst down the countertops, and being cognizant of there being a flame to my left, a bunch of blood and random fluids from when I made a mess earlier, just all over the countertop, and then not falling headfirst, because I had to pretty much put all of my body weight on my hands for a little bit as I went down.
Yep.
And very tiny. That's it's kind of difficult to learn how to do. And
The cheese grater scene.
yeah, the cheese grater scene, that was, once again, you think it, in comparison to everything else, you'd think that would be the one of the more easier ones to film. it wasn't. Honestly, it was quite pathetic. I have no hand-eye coordination. I couldn't catch anything for the life of me. Um, we have Stu, our stunt coordinator, who I absolutely love and adore. Um, he has the cheese grater and it's tied on like a little fishing line, and he like throws it to me, and I'm just meant to catch it, but I'm not meant to look at it because I'm a cool Deadite. Just comes naturally.
Yeah.
And I was just meant to catch it, and the amount of takes that it took is honestly a little bit embarrassing.
Did it
That's
ever?
all I'm gonna say.
I was gonna say, did it ever accidentally like hit you like in the face or
That's
anything?
what I was afraid of. I was like, guys, we might end up with a new like scratch or cut on my forehead. We're gonna just have to involve in the film because this is gonna hit me straight in the face.
But it ended up, I mean, overall, like, once you got the take, it ended up coming out great. And honestly, seeing the trailer before like even seeing the movie, seeing the trailer, that was one of the scenes where just like every time watching it, you're just like, just made me cringe every single time because you're just cheese grater to the leg, like, nope, nope, nope,
Gruesome.
don't want to deal with that. And then also, you have the scene where you get impaled with the pole. So what was it like filming that? I imagine that must have been kind of challenging to get that like all set up and everything.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, that was one that I was most excited for, but also pretty intrigued as to how that was going to go. And for the whole setup, actually, it was this pretty elaborate and very well done rig to give the illusion of it, going into my mouth and not through the top of my head. And the rig itself was actually interesting because I pretty much had to have like my mouth biting on something and my jaw kind of unhinged the entire time that it was on. And if I bumped into anything or there was a sudden change in movement, I could have been hurt. So I don't know if you've ever been on a set and experienced the hustle bustle of like someone's constantly doing something, someone's going and getting something.
Oh
There's
yeah.
constant chatter, people talking about things that they need to do. But this was probably one of the few times on set where it was just dead silent. No one moved a muscle. No one said anything. Not until I was in like my position, I did what I needed to do, just because it was so tricky.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I imagine just with like, well, so you ended up getting impaled by Stephanie,
My
which
stuff.
which I love. I love the name of like the pole too. So
Great.
now, so you said, was that the scene, like the gag scene that you were most looking forward to filming, or was there any other scenes that kind of topped that for you in the film?
Honestly, it's really difficult to say because all of them, I mean, it was just one after the other, just like, oh, ooh. So, but yeah, that was definitely one of the scenes that I was most excited to film and for audiences to see, along with and I have to mention this, Bridget being set on fire. I mean, just she never dies. She never
Yeah.
dies. You can't kill her. Um,
Oh yeah, she's a resilient one for sure.
she's a stubborn little thing. She just does not end. She's determined. Yeah, no, I was really excited for Bridget being set on fire, or as I like to call her, barbecue Bridget. And legally, if they would have allowed me to, I would have loved to actually experience the whole like getting set on fire. But you know what? I think it worked out because as fun and as thrilling as that would have been, Meg Morrison, my stunt double, she did a phenomenal job and way better than anything I could have ever done. So it's probably a good thing that it was left up to the professionals.
And that's something too, like something filming with like fire. I mean, that's always like obviously really challenging to do. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, again, everything came out, great. And yeah, definitely got to give shout out to the stunt doubles because some of the stuff that they have to do is absolutely crazy. I've talked to like a number of different stunt people like on the show before.
Yeah, it's insane. They did. I just it you're kind of taken back when you see them do what they do, and just the professionalism behind it. And I was so lucky because my stunt double Meg, she was also a ballet dancer, and
Oh, nice.
so that was, it was like we had our own language going on. When she was explaining to me what would be a better way about going, with a certain movement, or just tips that she had for me, she could explain it to me in a way that no one else really could.
Yeah.
And so that was like a really nice bonding moment between the two of us, and just the fact that I was really eager to do as many stunts myself as I could.
Oh yeah, I imagine like anytime that you can actually be, that involved with like the production and do some of the stunts like that. I mean, I imagine it's while challenging again, it must be a lot of fun just to get to do a lot of that stuff as much as you can yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not every day that you throw yourself into the front dishwasher.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so we talked like a little bit about it. Did you look for any, as far as like inspiration wise goes, playing the Deadite? So I know you said you watched a little bit of like Alyssa playing her character, watching some of the films. Was there anything else that you looked particularly at for inspiration when playing like the Deadite?
Well, I really wanted to make this Deadite, its own. I feel like every Deadite in the Evil Dead world has its own personality. You know what I mean?
100%.
They're each of them. They're all so unique. And Alyssa's, I mean, Ellie is definitely unique. And I was kind of like, all right, how do I do this in my own way? Like, who is my Deadite? What is my Deadite? And I really just boiled it down to, Deadite Bridget being just kind of like a trickster and trying to like get in your head. I mean, they all are, but
Yeah.
with the I don't like the creepy crawlies on my tummy. Do you any better knowing well what the situation is? And so
No, that was a great line, by the way. I love that. Now, what as far as for you, what would be, as yourself, Gabby, what would be your weapon of choice if you had to take on a deadite yourself?
damn. Um, I'm gonna have to say Stephanie. I'm gonna have to say. I don't know if I'm biased because that's just not fun. Um, I don't know if I'm a little biased, but Stephanie can do some damage
Oh,
as we can all see.
oh yeah, for sure. No, I think that's a great choice. Like, by the way, because like obviously you have the classics, you have the boomstick and the chainsaw and things like that. But I think Stephanie's like a great addition to this franchise as far as the weapons go.
She's scary. Yeah, I mean, you
Oh,
see her in person and she's scary.
I imagine just seeing her, I mean, like on the screen was pretty creepy, like overall, just seeing her, as an audience member. So I can't
Yeah.
imagine seeing it up close in person. So for you, what does it mean to be a part of the Evil Dead legacy? Because, you're now part of a film franchise that's been around since the early 80s, probably one of the biggest like horror franchises of all time. So has that hit you and what does that mean to you just like overall?
I'm gonna be honest. I think it all caught up with me on our first day of filming because it's honoring to be a part of a franchise, such an iconic franchise, who people have loved and enjoyed since the 1980s. Do you know what I mean? Like that's some big shoes to fill. Do you know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? So it though was really exciting. I knew that not just me, of course, but speaking for myself, I knew that there was a lot of work that had to be done to, you know, meet the standard that is Evil Dead. And so though it was really fun, we all definitely worked our asses off to make Evil Dead Rise what it is and to just be up there with the big dogs of Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, no, and it's a great entry into the franchise. So you guys should definitely be, very proud as far as that goes. Now, and just like it's like, how does it be, or how does it compare overall filming an Evil Dead movie to the rest of the projects that you've worked on in your career so far up to this point?
It's not like anything else that I've experienced. Just just the process of it altogether. I mean, obviously, you have your job that you're signed on for, which is being an actor and immersing yourself in the character's life and what they go through and everything, while also kind of seeing what it's like to portray a character that is deranged and is thirsty for blood, and whose really only focus in life is just kind of like that animalistic, that primal instinct to just like hunt and kill.
Cause
So that
complete chaos.
yeah, it definitely is. And there's a lot of things going on in your head all at once, a lot of things that you got to keep together, um, and that you have to keep in mind when you're playing both characters.
now. And just to wrap things up for you, Gabby, is there anything else that you would like to say to the fans or just about working on the film in general? And then where can fans keep up with you and your projects moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's shown their support and their love for Evil Dead Rise, and just Evil Dead altogether. It means a lot to all of us. We all had an amazing time filming. It was absolute insanity, but the best kind. And if you guys want to keep up with some behind the scenes Evil Dead stuff, a little bit more of an insight into Evil Dead, follow me on Instagram if you'd like. It's Gabrielle_Echols. And yeah, yeah. Also follow Evil Dead. Follow Lee. Follow Alyssa. They're constantly posting things. I'm awful at it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really bad at it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, seeing like I've definitely seen some of their like behind the scenes videos and just like the dancing between like
Yeah.
Lee, between Alyssa and stuff too. So it's been great, and so that's why one of the reasons too I was so excited to talk to you about this, just because it looks like it was such like a fun set to be on, and then just all the chaos that was involved with it. I imagine there was going to be some good stories, and I love talking all the behind the scenes kind of stuff. So thank you again, Gabby. I mentioned just I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, coming on here to talk about your career, working on Evil Dead Rise and just all things in general. So thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great talking to you as well. I'm really excited to see this when it comes out. Hi, everyone. I'm Gabrielle Echols, and I play Bridget in Evil Dead Rise, and you're watching Pop Culture with Pat.